Many F1 experts had expected Sebastian Vettel to re-sign with Ferrari for at least a year, and hence his decision to part ways with the team after 2020 has come as a shock to many. I'm your host Dillon Shelley, and first up on Formula World we'll discuss how the Ferrari-Vettel partnership disintegrated. While these experts have tried to come up with the possible reasons behind this development, Ferrari team principal Mattia Binotto has hinted at what might have gone awry for the Vettel-Ferrari partnership. Over the last weeks, the world has changed, not only from an economic point of view, but also from a technical and sporting point of view. There are challenges ahead and obstacles which are going to be difficult. We are laying the foundations for our future, and we want to have a specific perspective. We talked with Sebastian, and we found out we didn't share the same goals, short or long-term goals. Former F1 driver turned commentator Mattia Binotto looked at it from the driver's perspective and explained why Vettel didn't have the same luxury of choice as his replacement Carlos Sainz does. Even if it takes 2 or 3 years to challenge for titles, Sainz can afford that. Sebastian couldn't afford that time. He'd lost his mojo with the team and a little bit of belief, and vice versa I think, which is why they've parted company. Vettel is a former Red Bull driver, and Red Bull advisor Helmut Marko revealed that he speaks to Vettel at least once a month and gave his thoughts on whether Vettel will stay in F1. He remains a talented and very successful driver. Does he want to continue or not? I honestly don't know. The solution is in his head, only he can make such a decision. Vettel's former teammate at Red Bull, Mark Webber, summed it all up by asking a couple of questions that might have motivated Vettel to make such a choice. Could it be that the red car wasn't particularly competitive during pre-season, the stable regs, and a future budget cap? Vettel himself hasn't gone into too much detail about his decision yet, so stay tuned for that. Ricciardo to McLaren is a sideways move. Daniel Ricciardo will leave Renault at the end of 2020 to join McLaren. Many F1 experts consider this a sideways move as both are midfield teams and McLaren is yet to get back to its winning ways. Mattia Binotto has explained why Ricciardo had to leave Renault in the first place. He hasn't enjoyed it there at Renault. I barely remember seeing Daniel through last season. We used to see him all the time with that big flip-flop smile, but for some reason it just didn't work for him there. The car didn't play on his specialty of last of the late breakers. Maybe he fancies more that the McLaren and the incoming Mercedes engine will be competitive. Maybe he's concerned about where Renault will be in the future. He then explained why the move makes sense for both Ricciardo and McLaren. It's a bit of a sideways move, but Daniel has obviously seen something at Renault that doesn't fill him with confidence into the future. Daniel brings more experience and obviously a lot more race wins to McLaren. McLaren are probably thinking they've had a net gain depending on what they have to pay him. Fast feed. The latest news from the rumour mill suggests that Liberty Media are allegedly willing to pay a good part of former F1 champion Fernando Alonso's salary if he were to be signed by Renault for 2021. McLaren CEO Zak Brown has revealed that they were pretty far down the path in the off-season and knew that they would either land with Daniel or Carlos, which is why Vettel was never an option for them. Former F1 driver turned commentator Mattia Binotto has confirmed that Sebastian was talking to at least one team, so clearly retirement is not absolutely on his mind. He also thinks that retired F1 driver Fernando Alonso is desperate to get back into Formula 1. He'll be throwing his hat in the ring somewhere. This, he feels, might be Sebastian's swan song, and that it will all depend on how much money Renault have got to spend and where Formula 1 finds itself after these difficult times. Stijn de Beauvert, the commercial director of the Belgian Grand Prix, has revealed that they now have finally got the green light from the Belgian government to organise something. Former F1 driver Mark Webber has suggested that deals getting done when everyone's bored suggest that Sebastian Vettel's got plenty of counsel from Bernie. Williams' George Russell is a little bit jealous seeing his teammates up there in the potential championship-winning cars. He, however, knows that as long as he keeps on performing and keeps doing his job to the best of his ability, that the opportunity will come whether it's next year, 2 years, 5 years or 10 years. Ferrari team principal Mattia Binotto has revealed that Ferrari has agreed to the reduction of the budget cap from $175 million to $145 million. He also confirmed that Ferrari feels very responsible for its employees, because of which they have started to evaluate alternative programs such as IndyCar. He also considers Carlos Sainz to be a great driver to be paired to the pure talent of Charles Leclerc and that he can grow and win. Former F1 driver Guido van der Garde feels that Red Bull's Max Verstappen is just a super talent as he won his first race after being promoted to Red Bull in the middle of a season, as it is a completely different environment with a different engineer when changing teams. He also feels that under Liberty Media's ownership, F1 is not all that strict anymore and there is more openness about what happens. Former 7-time F1 world champion Michael Schumacher has been voted as F1's most influential person ever by the fans. Former F1 driver Roberto Merri is sure that Carlos Sainz will be on the same level as Leclerc from the first Grand Prix, and if he can even beat Verstappen then Leclerc won't be a problem. He also feels that it will be Hamilton against Verstappen and Leclerc against Sainz during the 2021 season. F1 shares have reportedly dropped 1.4%, causing F1 to lose $90 million as soon as Vettel's decision to leave Ferrari was announced. Carlos Sainz will reportedly earn thrice at Ferrari as compared to what he will be paid by Renault this year. And latest rumours also suggest that Canada and Singapore won't be featured on the revised F1 calendar for 2020. Did Ferrari make the right choice parting ways with Vettel and signing Sainz? Be sure to vote in the poll and let me know what you think in the comments. And if you like this video, feel free to subscribe and check out my others for all the latest in the world of Formula 1.